Okay. Can y'all hear this? Can you hear? Okay. At this time, we'll call our regular monthly meeting for November to order. I'm going to ask that you please stand for invocation and our pledge of allegiance. To the maker of the universe, to the one who knows all, to the one that gives us this opportunity to serve, we come before you today with bowed heads and humble hearts. We welcome you into this meeting today to guide us with your wisdom, with your knowledge, with your all-seeing eye. We give you the praise. We thank you for the beautiful weather that we're receiving today. But we also ask that you be with all those who are going through any kind of turmoil. We ask that you be with this nation and this world as we have so many different conflicts that are occurring. But we know that you are the answer to everything, and we welcome you today to have your way. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council, at this time you have before you the minutes from our October the 9th, 2023 regular meeting. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
We have
Second.
If we can, I would like to move the,
Let's go through a process of approving the minutes. We have that on the table at this time.
so move.
So you have a motion, and it's motion from Councilwoman Neesmith and a second from Councilwoman Barnes. So with that motion and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And if there's no objection, and according to our agenda, we do have resolutions where we have individuals present. So if there's no objection, I would like for us to be able to move introduction of resolutions, resolution number 2023-47, resolution number 2023-47, to move it forward to occur after our fall university graduation. Is there any objection to moving those two resolutions?
No.
Hearing none, those two resolutions will be moved forward on the agenda. Councilman, did you have an additional?
No, ma'am, I did. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll proceed with the first item on our agenda, if there's no objection, which will be the fall 2023 City University graduation. And it's time I'll come forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure today to introduce our fall session of our City University, the candidates that completed the course, and they're here today for graduation. Our class started mid-September and ended on October 16th. We had 6 weeks, and we had a great class with lots of interest and engagement, and I appreciate that so much. And with the public interest in the program, we will be continuing that again in 2024. So, without anything further, I'll introduce our graduates. First off, Gerald Braun.
Gerald, please come forward.
If everybody would please stay up front, and we're going to get a group photo at the end. Roberta Burns. Ingrid Cherry. Joseph Craig, Chiquita DeBose, Les Eccles, Francis Garber, Larry Hill, Nicole Middleton, Jennifer Giles Robinson, Ashley Scott, Wanda Vereen, and Barry Wingard. Let's give this group a round of applause. If y'all look at Adam, he's going to get a group pic.
Thank you. And Barry, I'm going to ask that you stay there when you please remain. And I would like to say thank you to everyone going through the university. I hope that it opened your eyes to some things of how the city operates. And I would also encourage you, the information that you receive, take it and share it to others so they understand that. So thank you again for what you've done. And Mayor, before you leave, this distinguished class here from the university, I want to give him some information. Barry has been serving with the city of Florence for years with our veteran committee. So this past weekend, we actually had an honor brought here to the city, and I would say because of Barry, his team, and our veterans. So if you missed it, what occurred was Barry hosted our wonderful event that we received an award on behalf of the city. But I would say that it reads that the Veteran Day National Committee hereby designate City of Florence, South Carolina as a regional site for the observance of Veteran Day 2023. And I say this, when I received and spoke, I make sure it was understood that we, the city, received this because of Barry and his team and the ones that came before him in order to establish the veteran park. But because of his effort and his team that we received this, but more importantly, it's because of all the veterans who have served to make it possible for us to be here as a city and as a nation. So I wanted to be sure to get a picture with this with Barry, and I would and tell you, thank you, Barry.
And the mayor stood out there and got wet with the rest of us.
And if, you know, saying that, they did what I told them, the veterans, our soldiers show up no matter what the weather is. So to honor them, we should show up regardless of the weather.
We had a very good ceremony given the weather conditions, but my day was really made. The mayor, and the speaker, the chaplain, and 3 or 4 people off our committee went out to lunch afterwards. And we sat there and talked and got to know each other and ate and ate. And we were about to leave when the waitress told us that these 2 ladies over here had picked up our bill.
Oh, wow.
And they were not, didn't appear to be women of great means. They were from Atlanta. I mean, we talked to them after the fact, and they were from Atlanta and just said they wanted to do it for us.
Wow.
So, one of them owns a restaurant in Atlanta called Sonny's, and I told her I'd tell everybody.
once again, thank you to all the program participants for the university. I hope that you really obtain some information that help to broaden your view of your city, and most of all, it will help you be able to serve your city and the citizens better. We thank you for participating. And also, once again, to Barry, thank you for all that you do with our veterans. And we observed Veteran Day this past Friday nationally, but Saturday was the local observation. So again, to all of our veterans, on the behalf of this council in our city, thank you for all that you do. And to our veterans who we have here who are working with me, if any of our veterans are present, will you please stand so they can see who our veterans are here. Please stand, all veterans. We appreciate it. And with that being said, we thank you again, and we're prepared to move forward with our agenda. And we have the movement of our resolutions. And the first resolution that was moved forward was resolution number 2023-47. Is a resolution to proclaim Friday, December 1st, 2023 as Arbor Day in the city of Florence. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second it.
And we have a second. All right. And that is a resolution that we standard do each year, which recognizes Arbor Day because the city of Florence is a tree city. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Next, we have resolution number 2023-48, and we do have recipients in the audience for that. It's a resolution. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so resolution of 2023-48, which is a resolution that we have a first and second to honor the contribution of Top Hat Specialties to the efforts to the revitalization for downtown Florence. So we have a motion and a second. I'm asking that Mr. Scotty Davis come forth and read that resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2023-48, a resolution to honor the contributions of Top Hat Specialties to the efforts to revitalize downtown Florence. Whereas the owners of Top Hat Specialties have established a unique dining establishment in downtown Florence and are small business owners and pillars of the community who are active in numerous civic organizations. And whereas the investment by Top Hat Specialties is welcome and is playing a role in the continued development of Florence's downtown business district. And whereas the owners are contributors to the community's growth through their community service, unique theme establishment, and exemplary customer service. And whereas the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce has requested that the city recognize the business efforts of Top Hat Specialties and its contributions to our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that upon the petition of the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce and in recognition of Top Hat Specialties' contributions to the continued efforts to revitalize downtown Florence, the City Council of the City of Florence, South Carolina hereby declares the month of October through December the Top Hat Specialties Quarter. And so it is resolved this 13th day of November 2023.
Council, you have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that the resolution have passed. And I'm going to ask that Mr. Les Eccles please come forward to receive the resolution. Oh, come, yeah, come, please, anyone who's going to come forward. Now, I'm going to ask you to place this here so you can, let's look at how you want to do it. Let's get you in the middle. And I'm going to present it right here.
Oh, yep.
And I want you to go ahead and you present it to her.
Thank you so much. And really quick, Lori, we appreciate your contributions to the community. We appreciate your establishment and the uniqueness it brings. And as you can see, the City Council and the Greater Florence Chamber and the community all appreciate you. So thank you for helping to be a small business that is a backbone of our community.
And the last time you've been downtown.
Yes, absolutely.
Please take the podium and please feel free to state anything that you want to say, especially about your business.
Council. Thank you for the Chamber for, this is an honor. We've been in business for 23 and a half years. Years ago, when I was in high school and in college, and this is my silent partner, my husband John, or the dishwasher, whichever. Anyway, years ago, I worked downtown for Sammer's Shoe Store when I was in high school and college, and I loved downtown. And I was never afraid to come back down here. Like I said, we started over 23 years ago when I opened. I opened in 2020. And, yeah, no, not 2020.
2000.
Actually, we got it in 1999 and opened in 2000. That's what it was. And so when we opened, you know, I was never afraid of it at all. And I believed in downtown, and I believed in downtown because of all of you supporting our business and everybody being a part of our family. When you walk in my door, I hope you are my family, and you will continue to be. And anyway, we appreciate everything that y'all have done for us, and we hope to continue to carry on that for many more. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you again. And at this time, we're going to open up any comments from the council. Recognize this Councilman Bailey.
Well, Lori and John, y'all are family, okay? Let's just be clear about that. And for anybody who doesn't know, Lori and John opened up the business downtown before downtown was cool, okay? Now it's cool to open up a business, but in 2000 and 1999, you talk about the leading edge of downtown redevelopment. They were the bleeding edge of downtown redevelopment. But it's a passion. And your passion comes through every day with not only with you and your family, because your son grew up there in the restaurant, but also the way that your staff treats the customers and just your love of Florence, your love of community, and the way you love up on your customers just as much. So we appreciate it. And having been there all those years ago with you, I just want to thank you for your commitment and your, I guess chutzpah might be an appropriate word, for taking the initiative when it was really a risky move at that time and sticking with it. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Chair,
you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Braddock.
So as a girl dad, having a place to take your daughters to have a tea party with actual food and high quality, great tasting food has been a blessing, you know, throughout mine and my girls' interactions. And
I've seen them grow up.
Yes, you have. Very special Valentine's events that you've had. And so, yeah, just someone that we could point to when people were talking about downtown at the success that could be had. So thank you. Thank you for your friendship as well.
Chair,
I did fail to mention that, you know, it's not just me. I have staff that they make it right. And they take care of everything too. It's not just me. We're a family there as well, and I appreciate my staff more than anything. They're my right arms, and I appreciate it. Even the dishwasher.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Barnes.
I too want to thank you so much. I was down there with Oscars, and so I remember falling in love with the chocolate covered strawberries we would order for the customers. And so I thank you so much that you are still here and you're still providing excellent service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If that concludes comments from the council, thank you again for having your commitment to the city of Florence, especially to our downtown and all that you've done.
Thank you to
We
all
truly
of
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. At this time, we will move forward with our appearances before council, and we're asking that each participant please retain all comments within a 5 minutes presentation. We have to come before us at this time Mr. Scott Gardner to speak to the council regarding fentanyl.
I can't tell you how much I would rather be in a different place than here right now talking about what I want to be talking about. I mean, but here I am. I stood here 30 days ago and I dumped my heart out. I can't tell you how difficult that is. I can't tell you how difficult it is to have to live with the death of a loved one that happens out of nowhere. There's no way you can set yourself up for what happened and happens. So I left here feeling a little optimistic, warm and fuzzy, and with hope, and I still have hope. All right, I'm going to try to make this as positive as possible, but it quickly disappeared. And I know I'm an extreme guy. I know I'm a guy that wants things done yesterday. I've always been told that. The last 4 weeks, what I've done is I've talked to the coroner's office. I understand I'm just a normal guy, man. I didn't want this, all right? I've talked to the coroner's office. I've talked to drug rehabs. I've gone to undercover narcotics agent here in this town, EMTs, the medical field. I've been on the phone with people as far as Washington, meetings that I would never thought I would have been in, emails, endless amount of research online. But the most impactful group of people that I've ever had to meet with is this growing amount of victims to fentanyl. I wished you could just hear the pain, the devastation, the loss, the hurt, the hopelessness. It would wreck your world. It does not go away. The frustrations that you feel. So there's 3 things I just want to just pinpoint on. All right. One is through this last 30 days, I've learned that the way that the deaths, including my son's, are reported are not consistent and often not correct. So we know that over 100,000 people die. We know that the numbers are high and devastating and going up. But what are they really? What are they? Based on what I'm hearing, is hit or miss. And these are people, experts. So that's got to be addressed. Somebody has to address that. That's a problem. We recognize that everybody here last time recognized everybody in the world. You have to live in a rock not to recognize it's an epidemic. It's affecting this whole world. And when it affects you, it doesn't just with the death. It's the mother, the dad, the brother, the sister, the aunt, the uncle, the fiance, the husband, the wife, the nephew. I mean, it just, and what that does, it causes, you think about that. You have, we had over 2,000 people reported died last year here in this state. And when that figure we know is not accurate. Multiply that by about 50. And then year after year after year. If you're not careful, it will turn into an endemic. An endemic being, it's a way of life. It's accepted. And we're too great of a country, too great of a community to let that happen. If we let that happen, shame on us. The third thing to me is, a plan of action. A plan of action. In advertising, I've spent a lot of time in advertising my 30-year career that I'm no longer involved in. It's, you got to have a target. The target's really it's clear in this one. Value preparation, quality of the ad, being consistent in their action, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And this concerns me when I know that I've been dealing with advertising all my life. And I'm just a normal guy. I don't want to come across. I feel like Dr. Gloom up here who was just up here. But I love Florence. Okay, y'all got to understand. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been a single parent for over 20 years. I made a decision about 12 years ago to take a transfer with the company I was with to run the store they had bought here. And me and my kids, that we all agreed, let's leave, let's go. And my career came to an end 5 years ago. But guess what? I'm still here. My daughters are still here. My son would have been here. But here's some things, three or four things. I Google this. Google this, and I'm not bashing. You understand? I don't have to be here. My family's not here. My crime. Google. I Googled this. How is Florence, South Carolina crime rate? This is the exact words. With a crime rate of 65 per 1,000 residents, Florence has one of the highest crime rates in America compared to any size, smallest to largest. I had no idea. We know about the income. I mean, America's income is 74.6, South Carolina's 61.8, Florence 49.7. Health. And once again, I know this is all negative. I just read an article, and this is from 2023, the most unhealthy city in the state of South Carolina. Florence. So, in my frustrations, in my determination, I get on city's website, I get on their Facebook, and unless I'm missing it, I had somebody back up, and I did it twice. Not one time is the word fentanyl in there. Not one time. Not one time is not even on August 21st is the word fentanyl in any of those. So I took it a step farther. I went on the police website and their Facebook. It wasn't on. The word fentanyl doesn't exist.
And Mr. Gardner, I'm going to ask that you please start coming to a closure at this time.
Okay, my closure is this.
Yes, sir.
All right. What are you going to do? That's my closure. What are you going to do? Okay? Because let me tell you something. I've got thousands. I just got cut off. Apparently, it's not as important as in August. Y'all did recognize International Cat Day. That saved a lot of lives. Okay. So understand, I'm not happy, but neither are these people who have lost loved ones, and the thousands that are corresponding with me. So I'm sorry you have to cut me off. All right, but you should be ashamed of yourself.
I thank you for coming before us, Mr. Gardner. And what I will close with this, even though you're walking out, to our general public, I am a nurse with over 40 years of experience. Fentanyl, along with many other of our drugs, are at an epidemic throughout the United States. The issue is the addiction, and when you address one addiction, if someone lives, you have to give them access to treatment. Addiction is a day-to-day emotional and desire that people live with. So in answer to Mr. Gardner, I would encourage him, along with everyone else, that if you suspect the possibility of anyone in your family having addiction, that you communicate with them. You also reach out to the programs we have here in Florence. Just 2 weeks ago, I met with some of the organizations who work with addiction. They're actually at a place where they're looking at, they want to be able to expand the number of beds. So when you have someone who's went through a crisis and need to be in the bed, that you can get them admitted and get treatment. And just so you can all understand, when it comes to addiction, what occurs? A lot of time you have individuals who, when they come into the ER. When they're there, they go through assessment, you get them through those crises, and then you want to verify, do you think they're going to hurt themselves? If they feel like they're going to hurt themselves or be of issue to someone else, they can be admitted then for a psychiatric hold. That hold is usually about 72 hours. But you're taking care of crisis. Where we're at right now, we need long-term treatment. But also we need individuals, when they have that addiction, to be willing to get their treatment. If you have an addiction, if you're not committed to it, they're not going to obtain or maintain that sobriety. So when it comes down to it, and I'm just going to speak, and the council will welcome to it, we are government officials who will do all that we can to make sure that the things that we need as a city to operate is there. A part of that is working with our health care community. We have 2 major institutions here who provide health care. They also have Hope Health. We also have Mercy Clinic. Access to medical care is here. We do have addiction programs, but individuals who have an addiction must be willing to be a part of it. You cannot make a person obtain and stay sober. So the loss, we have lost individuals not only to fentanyls. If we go back, there's an epidemic for several years when we had issues throughout the nation with crack and crack cocaine, and it's only when it seemingly hits someone's home that it really struck a nerve. But to us as a city council, and I welcome this same thing, as a government body, we're doing all that we can do. But also we need our communities and our family members to do it as well. I was looking at a program last night where they're actually introducing Narcan into elementary schools and middle schools because of fentanyl. So there's a lot of things that can be done, and not one person by themselves will be to solve this issue. And I think that if there's anyone who has an idea, please come forward. And if there's something that we can do as a city, we would do it. But you also have to work with your medical institution, also with your mental health, because a lot of times, sometimes there's addictions that's associated with mental illness. It's not a simple thing. So no matter what you just heard, it's not a simple thing, it's not a new thing. And then the same article he was talking about when it comes to the health of Florence, I read that article too. But I also understand as a nurse, when it comes down to what you variable in health, South Carolina, we said that we're at the hypertension and the stroke belt of the United States. You're in South Carolina, you're in the South. When you look at diet, individuals have to control their diet. You have to be willing to work out. Those are personal things that we have to do to take care of our body. This government body is not going to be to govern your health. But what we will do is work with associations to make sure we have those facilities, and we do have those. When it comes to crime, I know our chief would always speak to this. We talk about that metropolitan reporting and how it's reported. Know that one of the things I tell people in Florence that we report everything. Some people do not report all the crime. Literally say, if somebody come and scratch up your door, if you want to make a report, you can. But it's better to be aware of what's occurring in your area than not to be aware of it. So for that same article what he read, I read too. But as a government body, I will speak highly of all these council members, that they're dedicated to being sure. We may not always agree. Most of the time we don't. But one thing we agree about, that we want to do what's best for the citizens of Florence. And I don't believe that will ever change. We may have viewpoints, but we're going to do what's best for this city. And I think we've got some of the greatest medical institution there is. And I do believe when it comes to access, we have Alcohol Anonymous, we have drug anonymous. So we have solutions there, but individuals have got to be willing to be a part of it. That's the only way we can make change. And for the individual who have that first experience with a drug that take their lives, there's nothing we can do about it, because there's nothing even the people in the family could have done about it. But if we are committed to what we can do, we will do. And I thank you, and in Mr. Gardner's absence, I thank him for being here. He's lost a child, and I do not blame him for coming forth and speaking and being that voice for his child. And maybe his voice will be a part of making that change, but it's going to take everyone working together. So to Mr. Gardner, even in his absence, thank you for being here. Chair recognizes Councilman McCall.
And again, I definitely understand his I do not understand, because I've never been involved in that, but I do recognize his pain. But what I can say as a council, what we have done is, as quickly as early as last month, we've allocated funding through the opioid settlement to organizations fighting the opioid addiction. I think we gave it 2 organizations last month, and then earlier this year we also gave to another organization as well. So although we're just a legislative body, we don't have any executive action to move forward, we did take proper procedures to make sure we allocated the funds to get the awareness out and to try to stop this, try to slow it down as much as we can. So I just wanted to add that to the record as well of things that we have done.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay. I think, well, I'm going to do this. Councilwoman Lee Smith-Jackson, Councilman Braddock, and Councilman Mars. Okay, so Councilwoman.
I do want to address the fact that fentanyl is a national issue, and I'm just becoming aware of the different types of fentanyl that is involved and where the fentanyl goes into the different types of drugs. And I do feel like, just like the mayor said, we are a governing body. We're going to do what we can. And just like Councilman McCall said, we did set aside some funds to go into treatment for this, because we do believe in the awareness of this addiction. And it is very, very unlikely that it's going to stop here in Florence, or without help and partnerships, it will stop at all. but I do think that we as a group need to be aware, and as citizens in our community, be aware of what's happening within our communities and what our children are taking. And I'm so sorry that this happened to Mr. Scott Gardner, but I am aware of some folks even in here that has lost loved ones to fentanyl, and it is an ongoing crisis that we do have to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to meet with Scott Gardner twice since our last meeting, and it's unfortunate. I know his emotions are very heightened. But one thing that when Scott's situation is different from most of the things you hear about fentanyl is when people talk about fentanyl and opioids, you generally think about the addicted, and you don't think that it's something that you need to worry about or be concerned about. Scott's son had a back issue and asked for a pain pill, mentioned the issue, got a pain pill from a friend, cut it in half, took it, and unfortunately had fentanyl in it. He wasn't a drug addict. He had never used drugs. He didn't know. And what Scott is wrestling with is the fact that when people have thought about fentanyl and opioids, you think, oh, that's just an issue for the border. That's just an issue for, drug addicts and people of that sort. But what I hate is lost in the emotions, and I like to speak for Scott, is you need fentanyl test strips in your home if you have children. You need Narcan in your home if you have children. Fentanyl is being put in marijuana. Fentanyl is being pressed into date rape drugs. Fentanyl is being put into anything, and the likelihood that someone could find themselves overdosing on fentanyl that had never used a drug or been involved in that lifestyle is very high. And you don't hear about it because, unlike Scott coming forward, if your child dies of a fentanyl overdose, you don't want them branded as a drug addict. And so you're simply not going to say anything. You're simply going to grieve in silence like you would with a suicide or something like that. And so to avoid your child, disparaging your child, people just don't mention it. But fentanyl needs to be talked about in elementary schools, in high schools, in churches, and all around, because it is epidemic, and it could be in your medicine cabinet, or it could be slipped in your daughter's drink at a fraternity party, and you never have any idea. So we can no longer, what Scott's trying to bring to everyone's awareness, and in his grief is having trouble doing, is that this is not a drug addict problem. This is not a mental illness problem, a hospital problem. This is not a crime problem. This is all of our problems, because your child could take half a pill for a backache and OD on fentanyl. It's just that easy. And so please, if anything, as a council that we could do is utilize our websites, our social media, our marketing and PR committee to just get the word out that, fentanyl can affect you. Your child's not a drug addict? Well, fentanyl can still affect you. Let me tell you how. We need to get this message out, because children are dying every day and have no idea, what they're putting into their bodies. So I'm grateful that Scott's come, and I've tried to, encourage him to take a different approach. But when you're going through grief, that grief drives you. So with that, if there's anything that we can do on our websites, just to get that message out that fentanyl can be in your house, get the test strips, get the Narcan, because you don't want to become a statistic, and you don't want your child to be known as someone, as a suicide, as an overdose, or as a drug addict, simply because they took something they had no idea what they were taking.
And in closing, where I would add, still from a medical standpoint of view, one of the things that we as medical profession tells everyone, do not take someone else's medication. So if you can close with everything that we've heard, the long and short is, do not take someone else's medication. I'm skeptical if I'm getting a Tylenol or something, I want it in a packet for someone else. So we all just have to be mindful. And I still will always go back to any drug can be dangerous, any drug can be addictive the first time you take it, so you don't even have to be a willing component. But regardless of what, that first experience can take a life. So with everything that we've heard, with all the recommendations, we just need to be mindful. And we need to educate our young people and our families starting in our home to that vulnerability. If that concludes all of the comments, we thank you, and we'll bring our appearances before council to a close, and we'll move forward with our agenda. And what we have now is our ordinance in position versus Bill number 2023-35 for a second reading. It's an ordinance to name the pocket park next to 218 North Darby Street, identified as partial of Florence County Tax Map number 90170-04-002. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a motion
Second.
and a second? Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that bill number 2023-35 has passed second reading. Next, we have bill number 2023-36 for second reading, an ordinance to rezone portions of 2000 Marsh Avenue, identified as Florence County Tax Map number 90043-02-001 from CA to NC-15. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that the bill has passed second reading. Next, we have bill number 2023-37 for second reading. It's an ordinance to amend chapter 12 of the City of Florence Code of Ordinance to provide for the creation and administration of a roundup program that would apply to a utility customer's monthly bill. And I would like to offer for amendment on this bill. I would like to offer amendment that we have it to a program where individual opting into this program could do so by doing in writing. That's my motion. Do we have a second? Hearing none, the motion to amend this bill has failed for lack of a second. Do we have a motion on this bill number 2023-37?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? My only discussion still will be that with the things that we've done in the past, increasing the bill rates in order to take care of our present needs, we had to now let the charges for cars be passed back on to the customers. I still stand that when it comes to a roundup program, even though we know it's been successful in other areas for the City of Florence, I believe, and from the people who have called me, they would prefer to have that option to opt in by saying they want to be a part of, just like when they go through the grocery store and they ask them at the counter whether or not they want to donate. They feel that it is not right for the city to mandate them to be a part of a program. So that is what I received from the public, and that is why I place forth that amendment. And that also would be my reasoning that I will be voting against this. I do believe it's a wonderful program, but I do believe the citizens have that right. I do understand that committee feels that by doing it this way, you have everyone already in, which will increase the funds. And I understand that's the philosophy behind it. Any other discussion?
That's
We
not right, but
I have
we have two. First, I want to verify Councilman Jabala, and then Councilman Paul. Do you want to speak after Councilman Jabala?
that's no matter.
All right, we'll recognize Councilman Jabala, and then after Councilman Jabala, we'll have Councilman Braddock.
So, in the Saturday, November 4 edition of the Morning News, there was, under the opinion page, in the editorial page, there was an article that was shared, an editorial that was shared by Cameron Campbell, president of the United Way of Florence County. And she's a graduate with honors from Francis Marion University in 2015. And I'd like to read her guest column report on Alice in Florence County. And the article says, consider this: nearly 1 in 2 households in Florence County is walking a financial tightrope, unable to afford all of their basic necessities, and often just one unexpected expense from slipping into a cycle of financial instability. And yet we often read in the news how our economy is well on its way to recovery. This month, the United Ways of South Carolina unveiled its first statewide ALICE report, upending the conventional view of economic stability in our state. The reality is that in addition to the 296,643 South Carolina households in poverty, another 581,290 are ALICE. That's asset-limited, income-constrained, employed. These are people who are employed, but they are living paycheck to paycheck, level with the amount required. So we all know that ALICE, many of us are ALICE or have been ALICE. ALICE is employed, often full-time or juggling multiple jobs, including childcare, home health, retail and hospitality services, all work that is essential for our community. The ALICE report provides a detailed analysis and data that explains why so many households and neighbors are struggling. And it goes on to talk about that in Florence County last year, the top request for assistance, and this is with the United Way, coming from the 211 helpline, was electric payment assistance. So this is paying of the electric bill. The second highest was assistance with other basic needs for households, rent payments, etc. So these are 211 calls to the United Way for basic necessities from people who are employed. This is not people who are unemployed. This is basic people who are employed. And water, providing water services, if anything, is one of the basic services provided by, that is needed by our community, without question, providing water. And, you know, we have seen over time so many people having difficulty making those payments, living paycheck to paycheck. And so if this is a way to provide some assistance to those who are living paycheck to paycheck, then I think it is something worthy on the part of our city council and something that I am proud of, and I'm proud of all the other city councilmen who are voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Braddock.
I remember a discussion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, that when we were looking at this ordinance, that was suggested by the city that we do it as an opt-out. I don't know if costs associated with that, you know, it'd be much easier to start everyone and let people opt out, and then instead of ongoing, you know, opting people in on an ongoing basis. So I'm sure there's a cost associated with it, but you know, as being someone fiscally conservative, you know, my support of this comes from a situation we had last year where we had a teacher, a retired teacher, elderly teacher, I think she was in her 80s or 90s in Timmonsville, had a severe water situation, and, you know, it was brought to our attention by a local plumber, and there was no means to address the situation. Anything that we did to help this lady financially would have set a precedent. We could help, you know, address the water situation, but not the financial situation. And so I feel like we're going to have more and more of these situations, you know, as our economy and prices and inflation goes up. If your bill is $11 or $100.01 12 months out of the year, then you'll give $11.88 towards this program. That would be the most. On average, I imagine it'd be $5 or $6 that you'd be contributing. But it's only going to help people that are also involved. So if someone's not in the program, then they're not going to be able to get this assistance. If we did an opt-in program, most of the people that are seniors or veterans or single parents with children under 5, the people that would qualify for this program probably would not choose to opt in because they're in a financial situation, but they would also be the ones that would be left out if there was a need because they weren't part of the program. So there's, you know, it seems simple on the front end. You know, there are a lot of complexities, but the only thing that's not complex is opting out. It's going to be simple. There'll be multiple ways to do it. If you don't want to be involved, you can simply, you know, we'll make all those pathways to opt out available. You have 6 months in order to do so. And, you know, when I think of things, the least of these is who I serve on a daily basis, and these are the folks that will benefit from this program. it will be veterans, it will be seniors, it will be households with children under 5 years old, and we just can't afford to not have some mechanism to help people when they have this time of need. So I appreciate the mayor's sentiments and the sentiments of the community, but I think if everyone had a very clear understanding of what this program's aims and targets were to do, then they would be all for it.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Barnes.
Our decision to even raise rates for water, we never take those things lightly. The same water bill that you all pay that's raised, we have to pay it. But for a long time, this decision has been kicked down the road, and we find ourselves in a position where we had to raise rates. We had to raise rates. But we also understand with everything that's going up, there are some people that will have problems with their utilities, whether it be electric or whatever. And so, we understand no one's fussing as much about the hike on the water bill. But most people who are complaining are could be eligible for up to $300 in a year on their utilities. Because we've put this in place, we understand that it's tough for everybody. And so we are trying to help alleviate some burden. Now, once a month, if I've got to give up 25 cents, that helps my auntie or helps an aunt or helps someone down the road because they struggle in paying their bills, we are our brother's keeper. We should be about helping those who are in need. That's why we took this position to be in a position to make all of Florence better. And so raising the rates on water will make Florence better. And it's also going to make Florence better when our elderly or those in low income can be provided with assistance if it is needed because of the rate hike.
Chair recognizes Councilman McCall.
Thank you. And again, I guess, kind of reiterating the sentiments of members of council. I've been to several community meetings since first reading, and it was well receptive amongst a lot of people. The biggest thing is what I agree, and I think we spoke about it in our committee, was the word just need to get out to more people. I think it's kind of a negative perception because you do have someone against it. Some people might think that it's something, might think more of it than what it is. The people who had questions about it were people who benefited from it. And when I explained to them the benefit, they was like, oh, okay, it makes perfect sense. So again, I understand the success of this program is based off of the marketing on it. And that's why we proposed not to have it go into effect until next May. And therefore it gives you 6 months to opt out. And if you don't opt out within that 6 months, you can opt out a year from now or 2 years from now. You can always opt out. But we just want to make sure we get the word out to those out there who will be needing the assistance, and to let people know that this council is looking to be community focused and making sure that we're taking care of the least of these. So again, I just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Thank you to all the council, and I will still summarize. It's a good program, and the only concerns in place that I've had is about individuals having the right to choose. As stated, Lake City has the same program, so it's an operational program, but the citizens who've had concern was about their right to choose. So with that being said, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Nay. Let it reflect that the bill has passed second reading. Next we have ordinance, introduction of ordinance. The first one is bill number 2023-34 for a first reading. It's an ordinance to amend the budget for the city of Florence, South Carolina for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2023 and ending June the 30th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll hear from Mr. Rawlings.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is an ordinance that we put forth every year where we take a look at projects that are in process, purchases that have been ordered but have not been received yet, and we reappropriate that money into the current year so that we can meet those obligations.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Robinson? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that bill number 2023-34 has passed first reading. Next, we have bill number 2023-38 for first reading. It's an ordinance to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Florence to add provision relating to the committees of the City Council. Do we have a motion? So moved. Do we have a second?
I got a point of order on this. It says it's sponsored by City Council. Who sponsored this ordinance here?
This is an ordinance that's been in process since if you read back, we established these committees in 2021, correct? If you go to our outline. And we've never put anything official down. Jim was working on that prior to him leaving. And so at this point, when we got our new attorney, I asked him to go back to look at it, to pick up where Jim left off.
Okay. So are you sponsoring this?
It's not necessarily responsible. This is something if you got a committee, anything, Councilman, you need guidelines for how to operate. So we don't have, right now the committees are just operating. We don't have any guidelines except for what is flopped in, so choose. So what the attorney did was he went through and he checked with the municipal association, other organizations, to get guidelines for what we're already doing. This is to give us guidelines for what we're doing. So once again, we have a motion on the floor.
I got a question.
Okay, let's do
Okay, go
proper
ahead.
procedure. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. So if we don't have a second, the motion will fail. So at this time, the motion to put guidelines in place for our committees has failed. So now we'll move forward. It's a dead eye.
Okay, point of order.
No, once, if you
Point
go-
of order.
no, point of order is when you have a motion on the floor
No,
and
I
it
don't-
Point of
fails.
information then, I need a question answered.
A point of order can be raised at any time. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll talk about stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, well,
but make it clear though, the motion has failed for, that's why I wanted to have clear, it's off the table. So now you can proceed, but not this, because this is dead.
I've got a question about what we were just discussing to the lawyer. With our committees, is this the first time we've had committees in the last 3 years? Is this new? The committees that we have, because the mayor just said that there is no guidelines, and we've not heard of any guidelines that were needed. And so was that new? I was new coming on city council, so I don't know if it was new or not. So us having a committee formed, was that new?
No, well, first of all, that's not a point of order. The motion, as the mayor says, the motion has failed, and a point of information is only valid if there's something pending. But if you want to allow me to answer the question, I'm happy to answer the question. If you want to waive
No, it's dead. And so no. If
We
it's-
can vote, well, can I make a motion that we get the information? Because I want to understand, she had this long time to speak on her feelings and what it was, and now I'm asking a question, and I can't ask a question. That doesn't seem to be proper and in order either.
Well, if the chair would like to allow a point of information, I'm happy to answer the question.
At this point, I do want to clarify with the attorney, this information was sent out to the council, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So the council has this information.
Point of order, please. A point.
I have the floor.
No,
No,
ma'am.
no,
Point
no,
of
no,
order is
no,
to-
no,
is
no,
to the
no,
attorney.
no, no,
Excuse
no.
me.
I will finish this statement. I am
Ma'am,
talking.
I'm
Yes,
asking
sir.
to
Yes,
a
sir.
Point of order to the attorney.
No,
A point
Councilman,
of order is a response. You
No,
can bang that all you
I'm gonna
want.
bang it because you're gonna
The
respect
point
me
of
as the
order,
chair,
please,
and I'm
is
asking
that
our
this is
attorney.
a point legally
Councilman,
raised.
I
If
am
if
speaking to the council. I'm
I'm
speaking to our
asking
attorney.
the
No.
attorney on a point
Can
of
we
order.
make a
I'm not
motion?
asking you, madam.
But the point of order is basically
Well,
asking
no.
the chair to clarify, and then there can be an appeal to the to the, from the.
And my statement is to you, attorney, I'm actually talking to you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
asked you, did this information get sent out to the council?
Yes, ma'am.
How long ago was this information sent out to the council? What?
Several months ago.
And clarify if not, have you not actually met with some of the council members about this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this information is not new to the council, correct?
I can't say whether it's new or not, but.
But
I
you
can-
sent it out.
Yes, ma'am.
So you sent it to them, so they've had access, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I want to be clear, that this is not new information to this council. The council has received this in an email form, and that some of the councils have actually met with the attorney. So the access to the information has been provided. And like I said, this part is dead. Now, if you want to proceed with
I
your
have a point of
question, you're
order
welcome to
question,
do. Now you're
Mr.
welcome.
Attorney.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jabala.
Under our system of how we run things here, Robert Rules of Order.
Council has adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes.
It's-
Under Robert Rules of Order, every council person, and the mayor being a member of council, equal to everybody else. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, under Robert's Rules, the mayor, Robert's Rules deals with the conduct of the meeting.
Yes.
And the mayor, under our form of government, under the council manager form of government, is the default as the chair of the meeting.
And let me clarify. I'm the presiding officer. In this case, that happens to be the mayor.
Right.
Okay. The presiding officer is just one of the members of council. Is that correct? In our form of government?
In our form of government, substantively, we don't have a strong mayor. The mayor's not the chief executive.
Right.
But the mayor, unless council decides otherwise, the mayor sits in the chair at council meetings, yes.
Right. So my question deals with the point of order. When a point of order is raised on a procedural matter,
Right.
my question is, that's where the city attorney comes in to respond to the point of order. Is that correct?
No, so the point of order is addressed to the chair.
Okay.
The chair then rules on the point of order, and but then the person seeking, the member seeking the ruling, can then appeal from the chair to the body, and the decision is made by the whole council.
Right.
My status is just to advise in terms of
Yes.
parliamentary procedure, so you
So
don't
my-
address it to
So
me.
I'd like
I
to make an
understand, but
appeal.
hang on one second. Yes, that's fine.
Councilman Jabala still has the floor.
But my point of it is, when anyone raises a point of order, anybody who that may be,
That takes precedence.
that takes precedence, and no matter who's making a statement
That's right.
about whatever,
That's correct.
that statement comes to a stop pending a decision on the point of order. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
That's where I was before, and that was my point, is that I was raising a point of order, but the mayor chose, instead of to respond to the point of order, to continue with her statement. And I just wanted to get clear that under our procedures, that's incorrect. That the correct matter is, whoever of us may be speaking, when a point of order is raised, that conversation immediately comes to a stop until there's a ruling on the point of order. Is my understanding of that
That's
correct?
correct.
Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Barnes.
I'd like to ask for an appeal for you to be able to answer my question.
So you have to appeal from a ruling. The chair has to have ruled on a point of order for you to appeal.
Okay,
And
so
then you appeal.
I second the appeal.
But then you appeal to the body, so there has to be a procedural determination made by the chair. The issue is this: a motion was made. There shouldn't have been any discussion prior to a second being made.
That
And
was my question.
Without a second, nothing should have been said in terms of I make a motion to give first reading to this ordinance.
And so my question, and you don't have to answer right now, was I'm asking a question but not allowed to speak, but the mayor is allowed to go on, and when I ask a question about what she's saying, we're not going to talk about it. And so I just think that is, if we're going to do what's best for everyone involved, I think that we should be above, forthcoming and just fair across the board. If the mayor is going to give her spiel, but then not allow us to ask
Right.
any questions, that just doesn't seem proper.
If I may, Councilwoman, the way to handle that is not to allow any discussion if there's not going to be a second. Once anyone began speaking prior to a second, that would have been the time to call for a point of order.
Point of order down here.
Okay, there you go.
My
Thank you.
question
Just a
now,
moment,
because
Councilman.
of-
Chair recognizes Councilman Smith.
Because of the statement you just made, saying there should have been no discussion, technically, the statements that were made about this ordinance that was read should not be a part of the record, correct?
There is some argument that that's the case. There's even an argument, I know some parliamentarians take the position that if there is a motion that does not get seconded, you don't enter it into the record. You
Correct.
don't
So
enter it into
all
the
statements that were made probably should not be a part of the record because there was no second.
That would be something, once draft minutes are presented for you to review and approve, then that would be the time to strike that from the minutes.
All right, thank you,
I
Mayor.
don't think.
And now, also, point of order clarification, I wanted the record to state, when the motion was read, no one seconded, correct, according to our minutes? So at that point, it was dead, correct? And so at that time, communication should have ceased, and there should not have been any.
Debate is not in order unless and until there's a second.
Correct. So there's no second, that means that right there was dead, and we should be moving on to bill number 2023-39. So we're supposed to proceed, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was my point of order. Thank you, Councilman, our council. At this time, bill number 2023-38 for a first reading died due to a lack of second. So now we're moving to bill number 2023-39 for a first reading. It's an ordinance to update the Appendix A and Appendix B of the city's current business license ordinance as required by Section 6-1-400 to 420 of the South Carolina Code of Laws. We have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll hear from Mr. Rollison.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance that we're required to do every 2 years by state law. It came in effect 2 years ago when the state standardized the business license process. Excuse me. And this is just a requirement that we change some of the they're called NAICS codes, but and put them in different categories.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that bill number 2023-39 has passed first reading. Next, we have bill number 2023-40 for a first reading. It's an ordinance to update section 2022A to align the date of the taxi cab inspection with the business license renewal. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And do we have?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. At this time, we hear from Mr. Rollins.
Thank you. This is just changing the dates of the inspections for taxi cabs. It had been in June and December, but when the state moved the requirement for business license to be required to renew in April, we did not at that time move the taxi cab inspection dates before that renewal. And so this is just aligning that back with the business licenses.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Excuse me, Mayor. What would be the new terms, the new dates? I'm sorry.
They'll be due in April and October.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that bill number 2023-40 has passed first reading. Next, we have bill number 2023-41 for first reading. It's an ordinance to annex and zone CG 700 South Park Drive, identified as Florence County Tax Map number 90004-01-018. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll hear from Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is a request to annex and zone commercial general the property located at 700 South Parker Drive. This is the property located just essentially within the parking lot of the Housing Authority building. The request was brought to Planning Commission in October at their October 10th meeting, and annexation and the zoning was unanimously moved forward with their recommendation to council. The property is currently, zoom there so you can get a little bit better of an idea of where this property is located. Currently houses 6 total commercial units. The property owner is requesting this for city services and police, fire, sanitation. Currently, the property has city water, but it does not have sewer. It shares the sewer access with the housing authority and their private lift station. The property owner has signed a sewer lease form, which should sewer become available in the future, we will notify them so that they can proceed with connecting to our sewer system. But at this time, there are no plans for any sewer extensions.
Thank you. Any discussion? Chair recognizes Councilwoman Lee Smith Jackson.
Yes. Tell me, Clint, what part of that is in the city? Because it's not the housing authority, is it?
Yes.
So the housing authority
They
is.
annexed 2 years ago when they moved into the new building.
Okay, so that's what's adjacent to that area.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
got it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let it reflect that bill number 2023-41 has passed first reading. And as we proceed through our outline, as you can see, the introduction of the resolution listed for A and B were moved forward on the agenda, so those have been addressed. And resolution number 2023-49 is a resolution approving an amendment to the conditional grants and development agreement dated November 10th, 2022 between the city and 127 West Evans Street Historical LLC. That will be discussed in executive session. So at this time, we are removed to our reports to council, and we're asked for appointments to boards and commission. We'll ask Mr. Davis to please come forward for those.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We currently have 3 boards that have vacancies or expired terms. Our first board is our Design Review Board. The member must be a general contractor licensed by the state of South Carolina. We do have an applicant, Cal Gunter. This appointment falls to Councilwoman Neesmith Jackson.
I would defer.
Okay.
Councilwoman's deferred.
Our next board is the Public Safety Citizens Review Board. There is 1 vacancy. We have an applicant, Maya Turner, and that falls to Mayor Irving.
I would defer at this time. Next.
Our final board is the Planning Commission. There is 1 vacancy on that board. We have applicants Michael Abbott, Deanna Adams, Eric Douglas, Merritt Dowell, Angela Foster, Tabitha Hanna, and Wesley Snow. And that falls to Councilman Smith.
Chair recognizes Councilman Smith defers.
That concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Next, we will have Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee report, and I believe Mr. Chad Patterson is here. Please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council, for the opportunity to come today to present the City of Florence Accommodation Tax Committee's recommendations for distribution of the 2023-2024 funds. The members of our committee are appointees of the City Council, and we take our service on the committee very seriously. The committee is responsible for making recommendations to City Council for the expenditure of the 65% of the accommodations tax funds received by the state. These funds are estimated to be $999,600 this year, and they're available to be distributed and used for tourism promotion. Based on the state laws and city guidelines, the committee carefully reviewed all 21 organizations and events based on their past, present, and future abilities to bring tourists to our community. The committee was able to fund approximately 80% of the $1,253,000 in requests, and we're confident that these allocations recommended are fiscally responsible investments back into the community. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve on this board.
You've heard the report. What is your pleasure, council?
Move to approve.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second, and now we have discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment, or, well, I'd like to make a motion to send to Finance Committee for review prior to vote.
Okay, so you want to amend the motion to have this moved to the finance. There's been an amendment offered to the motion to have, so we're second for the amendment to have it moved to the.
I'll acknowledge and modify my motion to send it.
So you want to modify your motion that this be sent to the Finance Committee?
Sure.
Okay, so the motion is now to have the Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee report sent to the Finance Committee. Have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Discussion.
Exactly what was that?
The report that we have that's been given to us by the advisory committee, the council members want to have it sent to the finance committee so the finance committee can look over the report.
This report or every report?
This report is on it.
Okay. That's the only problem with that. That's fine.
All right. So we have the motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.
Madam Mayor, can I ask that Chad, a representative, be at that meeting? Or do that sidebar?
Well, we can do it sidebar because you're gonna have it, and you with the committee, y'all can have invited. So that'll be fine. That'll be fine with how you want to proceed with it. Chad, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the hard work y'all do. Thank you. At this time, we'll move forward with our reports. Main report, which you heard when I talked to Mr. Barry, was about the acknowledgement of the city and the parks and things that we do for the veterans. That was really significant because of the national recognition that we've also received from the veteran park. That's very special. Saturday, we was honored to have Brigadier General Jenkins to come to speak with us, and that was a great honor, as well as we had our own local, Michelle Lagarde here, who's a chaplain. She's also a lieutenant colonel. So I would like to simply acknowledge all our vets who came out, especially their families too, and to everyone who came out in the weather like it was Saturday to show support for our veterans. And I'm sure that the councilmen, when they do their business report, will update you when it comes to the Pecan Festival. As you know, that was held, and that was a great success. And I always want to be sure to recognize former Councilwoman Pat Gibson-Highmore, who was the founder, and also her great team that she had, and also the team that's still serving, which one of our councilmen do chair, to make this continue to be a success, and this festival now being recognized by the state. But most important, I just want to be sure to recognize our veterans and our significance. So at this time, we'll move forward with our committee reports. First, we'll have a report from the chair from the business committee. Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, we went nuts. Absolutely, it was a great weekend, and thanks to everybody who participated and made it such a great event. The Business Development Committee met on Thursday, October the 19th, and all council members were present, as well as Mr. Osterman, Mr. Moore, as well as Mr. Hemingway. We had a update that we received from the stormwater and master plan update, and we'll be going into that a little bit further, Mr. Hemingway, whenever you're ready. We also received an update on Urban Square and what is happening. And if y'all see across the street, we got a parking deck coming out of the ground, so we're very excited about that, and that's going to be done in conjunction with the apartment building that's getting ready to start. They're clearing the land over there. And we also talked about corridor enhancement projects, and one of those, of course, being the East Florence corridor, where the Levy Park grant application is still residing in Washington. But one of the things we did pass around at our council meeting, at our committee meeting rather, was a article that was written by, and Les is gone, but Les Eccles wrote this for Diversity Works, and so go ahead and pass out copies of the article here, and give it, Casey, if you to put it in the minutes as well, and we'll pass that down, please. Thank you. So at this time, we call on Mr. Hemingway. If you would give us an update on the stormwater, where we are with all of that, please.
Chair recognizes Council Representative Hemingway. Please retain your report to 5 minutes or less, Mr. Hemingway. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Council. As shared by our Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Jabali, we had a stormwater update in our October monthly business development meeting, and that was including your minutes that was sent out by Ms. Casey Moore. probably the highlights if, under the stormwater be one of the highlights is the stormwater system that we are now presently have our out to bid. Our Pennsylvania will be going out in January for that master project. And then also the Cedar McQueen stormwater project is presently out for bid. So we'll be closing those in December. And then we'll proceed to bidding that particular project. So those two projects are moving forward. Then also another major component to update is our master plan. We are presently on schedule to have the master plan ready for council review in June of next year. And that encompasses all the major construction projects and looking forward as the city continues to grow within our growth boundaries. So that'll be ready for June of next year. And then finally, also in that report, given the outline of our allocation of the $7 million that was originally approved by City Council, and then staff has been able through the grant process to receive another $11 million. So we have a total of $18 million in stormwater projects that are in the queue that are presently being at different various stages of work.
Thank you, Ms. Hemingway, for that report.
So one of the, and thank you for that, Michael. We were very appreciative of the hard work that city staff is doing to maximize the value of that $7 million that we got through the bond, through the raising of 50 cents per month fee, stormwater fee, and as a result of y'all's hard work, that $7 million, we were able to get $11 million in additional grant money to make it $18 million. And I think there's even a chance that the Resiliency Board may give us additional grant of $3 million more come May, as I understand it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed because we certainly, the cost of everything is going up. So we certainly appreciate all the assistance and hard work that staff is doing in that regard. Anything further, Councilman Barnes or Councilman Bryant?
Thank you.
Okay. That's
for that
our report.
Chair.
Thank you.
At this time, we recognize the Chair of the Community Development Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to say congratulations to our very own George Jabali. I really think that I am, other than George Jabali, I am the only one up here on council that was actually working with this Pecan Festival when it first started. I was on the Downtown Revitalization Board when the first Pecan Festival happened, and I served with Councilman Billy Williams at that time. He was a councilman, and I can remember one of the things that I I truly believe that we should never write people out of history. I think that is, I don't like it as a African American, and I don't like it if I see it done to anyone else. I thank God for Pat and Jean Downing coming up with the idea of Pecan Festival, but it came to fruition when they went to George Jabali. And for years now, I've sat here and I've listened, and we have left two people out of being founders. And I don't think that that should be. We should give credit where credit is due, and it was hard work. Seeing the Pecan Festival then and seeing the Pecan Festival now, a lot of hard work went into that. And I think it's only fair that every person gets credit. We should not write people out and only give it to one person. So to Pat Gibson Highmore, Jean Downing, and George Jabali, the Pecan Festival is what it is today because of all of their great work and their team. So kudos to all that have done a great job. Now, as far as the my committee, I am the chair, Councilman McCall and Councilwoman Neesmith. We all serve on this board, and I left out on last month that the council, we voted to come before council to discuss, actually to conduct, a study for housing. We understand that there's a lot of affordable housing that is needed. We want to change that to obtainable housing, but we do need a study to go by, and I think it's been a good while since that study has been done. So we will be asking for that in the new budget that's coming up. We understand that it cannot be done now because we are already budgeted for this year's, but next year we will be coming before you to do to conduct a housing study. I think that is all from my committee. If anything else counts, Councilman. Well, thank you. That's it, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I do want to add, when it comes to the Pecan Festival, this for a matter of clarification. I remember Councilman Billy D. Williams was my representative in District 1, and I was the secretary for the Community Association. So I'm very familiar with his work, and I still would want to acknowledge that Councilwoman, she did. She went, she had the idea, and she spoke with Jean Dowd. But she's recognized in the State House as the founder. So, but I would love to say, that's why when I speak, I always say team, because nothing to this caliber is done without, and that's why I said I knew the councilman would give
Point of order, please.
Would give a report. And so,
Point of order. I believe the councilwoman gave her report on her committee, and I don't think it was appropriate for anybody to go on independently unless there are some questions about her committee report.
well, for me, it was not a question. I want to compliment her because of what she said, because she is correct. And I want to thank you for your report, Councilwoman, as I would do with each council member. So next we have on our agenda the Marketing and Public Relations Committee. Chair, could you please give your report?
Yes, I am the chair of the Marketing and Public Relations Committee. Alongside that committee serves with me is Councilman Smith and Mayor Pro Tem Jabali. We had a wonderful meeting where we saw an update on our Newly app. The committee is working so very hard on it, and I cannot wait till it rolls out. And I'm sure everyone is going to be excited when they see what's really going on. So I'm excited, and I want to thank everybody for their hard work. And we will be seeing the fruits of their labor coming really, really soon. So look out for that. The next thing I want to say is we've come to a milestone in me as City Councilwoman. It is 1 year. For me serving alongside these beautiful people. I want to thank each of my colleagues for your experience, for your unwavering support, for your expertise with me along while I witness and while I transition into servicehood, rather. And I want to thank you for our time together. And I'm looking for a couple more years where we really can make an impact in our communities. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your update, and we're looking forward to seeing those when that app comes forward.
Yes, I'm
so
excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for all your hard work, and congratulations on your year's service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. At this time, we'll move forward with our next report from our Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee Chair.
Thank you. We met on, and I think the members of this committee is me, myself, and Councilman Smith and Councilman Brian Braddock. We met on October 25th, and we discussed the monthly financial packet for September 2023 with the Finance Director, Mr. Kevin Rollison. In addition, we also discussed the implications regarding the Roundup program, as well as figuring out a route of how we're going to make sure notices get proper notices get to utility customers. I think we're going to kind of let that go to the hands of the marketing committee on that, how you all market that program. And then lastly, we briefly discussed the accommodations tax and having a representative come speak to the finance committee regarding those recommendations. And that will conclude our report.
Thank you so much for those reports.
Thank you.
If that concludes all of our reports, we are prepared to go into our executive session. And for our executive session, the items that we have slated is A, for a discussion related to a proposed economic development project 30-4-70A5. Then B, A, discussion related to proposed economic development project 30-4-70A5. Then C, a legal advice 30-4-70A2. Then D, legal advice 30-4-70A2. Then E, a personnel matter 30-4-70A1. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second that we proceed to executive session. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are being just as after, and we should probably take about a 5 minute